Guys, congratulations. This is historical for the Philippines.
It
Umpisa
is.
lang natin kung paano kayo naging on board sa proyektong ito with Netflix.
It started out with an article that I wrote for Smile magazine. So it came out in March 2018. Probably around August of the same year, I got an email from Susie, who is the director of the show. So Susie emailed me to ask me about Cebuano street food. So I gave her a rundown of a list of what Cebuano street food is, and they liked it. So they came over around, we shot this all around Cebu by October. Was it October? It's very quick, October, but we were shackled by our non-disclosure agreement, so we could not talk about it until it came out. So I watched the very first episode. I mean, for the first time, the episode about Cebu and the Philippines yesterday. So it gave me goosebumps.
Sabi mo naiyak ka.
Naiyak ako because a lot was riding on the fact that they came to the Philippines and did a show Cebu only because of something I wrote. So I felt all the pressure on that. It had to be something really good. And they went beyond expectations.
Yeah.
So I mean, I knew visually that it was going to be amazing because it's the team from Chef's Table.
Oh,
And
naman.
when Susie actually said that we're the team from Chef's Table, but don't tell anyone, I screamed on the phone. Literally, I screamed on the phone because I'm such a huge fan. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes.
Everyone has seen the Chef's Table. So I was thinking, how are they going to spin street food and then give it that imprimatur of Chef's Table? So I could not wait. I could not wait to see. And they don't tell you anything, right, Mike? I mean, Mike would know this. They don't.
Everything's so secret. Such a secret.
So kayo ang nag-guide sa kanila.
Yes. Basically, Mike, because he's the culinary expert. I'm not, like you said, I'm just the enabler. I'm a very good liaison. I'll point you the right direction.
Okay.
And
That's important.
Yes. So they contacted the photographer Jacob Mentz. Jacob Mentz is an American photographer known worldwide for his work. He was the one who photographed that the story that I did for Smile magazine. So they contacted him first because they probably in the world of photography, they knew him and they trusted his opinion. And he said, "Call Jude." So they called me. And they wanted another culinary expert, and I suggested Mike because I've known Mike a very long time. In our past lives, as we were both writers for the same newspaper for a long time. Then he moved on to manage bands and music, and then he became a chef. So it's like we went through different lives, and we've kept the friendship through the years. Yeah,
Stayed in
so
touch.
Ano yung pinakamalaking contribution tingin nyo ng episode na to for the culinary scene in the Philippines? Because we're always, Filipino food is popping out in New York and LA. But ito grassroots eh.
Yes.
Ito yung umpisa. Anong tingin nyo may magandang maidudulot nito?
Ako for me kasi like we always see the usual stuff, being featured, no? So if you go through the archives of media, it's like the same stories told and retold. And the story, the street food feature of Cebu gives you a totally different perspective of Cebuano cuisine. It gives you a different perspective of the dynamics of island living, no? Kasi like they were asking me na, what's parang aside from what made the show, the experience very special. Sa akin kasi is to really see, like especially in the case of Entoy, the value of sustainability. Kasi if you talk of like regional cuisine, local cuisine, it's always cooking food na galing sa lupa, galing sa dagat mo. And looking at what was featured in Entoy is, imagine kung mawala yun, how can you cook the same dishes?
Wala
How
na
can
siyang kabuhayan.
Diba? So
Yes.
like for example, we can try to tell you the story of Larang cooking it Manila with hito that is available. But it's still a far cry from tasting the bakasi.
The bakasi, which is something that he
harvested
gets
live
from his backyard, literally his backyard.
Maraming matututunan din yung mga Pilipino dito pagdating sa pagkain. Kasi yun nga sabi nyo, it's also about sustainability. So it also tells you lessons, not just food.
Yes. In fact, if you see the episode, it's funny because it is about street food, but it actually is about the story of the people that you meet along the way. Like, for example, Ruby Lynn was never in the original plan. Her lumpia was something that you would pass by on the way to Entoys. So they were looking for Entoys, which is now like the whole thread that connects the narrative. So dumaan lang sila, naaliw sila dun sa tindahan niya at saka sa personality niya. So it really is like the chef's table treatment that they anchor it on a person.
Yes.
So in this case, naaliw sila sa mga tao na nakilala nila and they become an integral part of the story.
We know that this is just Cebu, but we were talking like behind the camera, and you were saying that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes. I mean, if you talk about street food, of course, maraming magreklamo dyan. No, it's not just Cebu. And I don't think we will claim to be representative of street food in the Philippines. Definitely not. Because even in Cebu, our food is, it lacks an
Very diverse,
identity.
diba? Oo.
Diverse and kind of lacks an identity, but it has been there for many generations.
But I think the beauty of this is that we capture street food in its essence when people actually cook for their families to survive. You know,
Yes.
there's an intimacy between the families that cook and the community they serve. So
There's a beautiful line that you said at the end of the episode that if you're Cebuano, you don't just cook for yourself.
Yes.
Right? You don't just cook for yourself, you cook for other people too.
And it's not just Cebu. It's it's representing
Filipino.
the Filipinos.
Yes. And I think the difference between especially compare Cebu with Manila is that in Manila it's driven, street food is driven by manufacturing, it's driven by branding, it's driven by franchising and all that, which makes it very commercial. But in the case of the establishments featured in street food,
Yes.
it's very authentic, it's really very personal.
Yes.
And no other establishment is like Entoch, no other establishment is like the Talisa Lechon.
Yes.
So it's very unique, so it really is something that is worth traveling for.
Yes,
Diba?
yes.
It's
Which
not
is what we're hoping
Yeah.
will happen, that people get to see this episode. I guess it's, I don't know if you would agree with me, but it's like a double-edged sword if you do the episode too well, because they gave it that beautiful spin. And it people might be disappointed when they get to these places and it's not exactly,
Hindi, kasi
they're very
we have
clear
to-
that it was street food,
Oo,
diba?
oo.
Pinaganda
Tsaka-
mo siya.
Oo, tsaka hindi raw siya.
Yes,
Hilaw.
it's very raw.
Yun
Yes.
Yun yung
So we're
makikita mo. What you
hoping-
see is what you get.
We're hoping that the audience will understand that.
Oo.
Diba? Baka
Na hindi
kasi
siya, kumbaga hindi siya
Hindi siya
sit
five-star
down.
restaurant. Yes, it's not a
Oo.
sit-down menu. It's not a tasting menu.
And you're tasting it as it is.
Yes.
How they cook it,
Yes.
how tatay cooks
They
it.
won't adjust it for your taste. Yung
Oo.
parang ganun na kasi pagkaluto namin. Kung
Oo.
ayaw nyo ng ganyan.
Eh, di wag.
Eh, di wag.
Oo.
Di wag.
Like ako, for example, I worked with a few food shows din dito sa Manila. And if you do that, usually nagdadala yung production ng props because you try to glamorize what
Yes.
you're shooting, di ba? You stylize, and kami mismo, coming from that parang mindset to see these people, skeletal crew lang sila ha,
Yes.
all the way from the US. They
Yes.
came here, skeletal crew, and they just shot what was there, made do
Yes. With whatever was
there. Pero sobrang ganda.
Ang
Kasi
ganda
ko,
Nasa paraan ng pagkwento.
Yes.
parang pagkwento, and the way they shot it, the way
Oo.
they lit the place, parang naging
Last night
magical.
so Mike was with his brother and we're talking because they have a restaurant. So parang nag-uusap kami na hindi pala talaga dahil sa pinggan. Because minsan, ang ganda ng pinggan din, ginagamit sa gumaganda yung itsura ng mga ulam, ng mga pagkain when they style it. So in this case, kung anong pinggan meron sila, kung anong mesa meron sila,
And
yun
how
ang
the food
ginamit
is
nila.
served.
It's exactly like that.
Hindi mo
Yes.
i-alter. Napakaganda.
Yes.
And what,
They stayed true to that.
what do you hope the audience will get out of this? Not just the Filipinos, but the Netflix audience.
198 countries have probably never heard of Cebu, or they haven't heard of a culinary scene in the Philippines because people have been pushing that it's the next best thing, but it hasn't really happened yet, right? So this will bring it to a whole new audience that will appreciate something that, as you said, raw, very raw. Experiencing street food as it was meant to be in all other countries, it has attained a level of sophistication that we haven't had yet. No, so it really is raw. It is for survival. And it is how street food was meant to be.
Thank you.
Compared to other countries.
Yeah.